The angels sang because the everlasting Father had come to extend the arms of redeeming grace to all who would give their hearts to Him. It is a wonderful, mysterious, hard to grasp and beyond the scope of our normal reasoning story. But when you get it, when you come to fully understand the purpose and implication of this story, you will sing too like the angels did. This story's amazing plot wasn't written when Mary got pregnant, or when prophets began foretelling it, or when God announced it after the disastrous rebellion and fall of Adam and Eve. No. This story is so miraculous in every way that it could have only come out of the mind of God in the eternity before the foundations of the earth were ever laid by His own hands. It points to the divine imagination and screams the power of divine hand. No man could write this plot. Even if any man did write, no man could expedite what he had written. This story is itself an argument for the existence of God and is a portrait of His holy character. The beautiful world that God has created was now broken and groaning. Broken and groaning because it was the direct result of the rebellion of the ones God had made in His own image. The human beings. They sinned. They fell down to sin. They disobeyed God. The evidence of its brokenness was everywhere, from the inner recesses of the hearts of people to the violence and corruption of the government, to the existence of plagues and diseases. Sure, there was beauty still to be seen, but the whole world groaned under the weight of its own brokenness. It would have been just for God to stay this distance, to let the world quake and groan. It would have been a just response to the arrogant rebellion that brought this brokenness on the world. But in one of the gorgeous mysteries of God's sovereign grace, He looked on His broken and rebellious world with the eyes of His mercy. Yes, God would act decisively, and His actions would be what He had planned in the beginning, but they would be a stunning surprise to every mere mortal like each and every one of us. His response would not be condemnation and judgment. His response would not be a meting out of justice. Rather, His response would be of intervention and rescue. He would do in grace what the law could never do. He would do in grace what we could never do for ourselves. He would do what the philosophers could never conceive, what the leaders could never strategize, what the poets could never imagine. He would offer the only thing that would ever address the need and solve the entire problem. He Himself would become the greatest, most costly and most transformational gift ever to every one of us and to the entire creation. God would take on the human flesh and invade His sin-broken world with His wisdom, power, glory and grace. But He wouldn't descend to a palace, no. Instead, the Lord Almighty, the Creator, the sovereign King over all things, would humble Himself and take on the form of a slave. He would live on our behalf the life we would have never lived. He would willingly die the death that you and I deserve to die. And He would rise from the tomb as the conqueror of sin and death. He would suffer every single day for His life so that He could, with His life, give grace to rebels like us, extend love to those who would deny His existence, impart wisdom to those who think they know better, and extend forgiveness to everyone, let me tell you, everyone who seek Him. His coming stands as an affirmation that He will not relent. He will not be satisfied until the sin and suffering are no more, and we are like Him in His image, dwelling with Him in unity, peace and harmony forever and ever. It is true that you just can't write this stuff. The majesty of the patient and forgiving love of this story defies words. The implications of this birth are not only transformational to the cosmos, but also eternal in its extent. This is the story of Jesus, born in a barn in Bethlehem. The Messiah the earth cried for, now cries to be held by Mary, and will soon cry in torment of cross of salvation. He came to suffer because He came to save. The angels sang because finally hope had come. Don't you want to join them in singing?